Today's episode is sponsored by Audible.com. Audible is a seller and producer of spoken audio entertainment, information, and educational programming on the internet. Audible sells digital audiobooks, radio and TV programs, and audio versions of magazines and newspapers. To start using Audible today, please visit their website at www.audible.com. That's www.audible.com.
So sorry for the interruption, but we have a quick announcement. We've just put together a quick app to consolidate past and upcoming episodes of this show. To download the app, simply use your cell phone camera to scan the QR code on the screen. Then, simply add the app to your home screen for easy access and a better experience.
Welcome to another episode of Taking You to the Top. In this podcast, Rami spends time speaking with founders and CEOs from across the globe and asks them specific questions to learn exactly how they launched their businesses. Before we get started with today's guest, please follow Rami's Instagram account so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. If you'd like to watch previous episodes, simply click on Rami's IGTV section or scan the QR code at the beginning of this video to download the app. If you'd like to get more information and analytics about each guest, simply visit the podcast website at takingyoutoTheTop.cf. Now, let me spend a moment to introduce today's guest before Rami gets started. Today's guest is the founder and CEO of the International Entrepreneurs Association. Through a global network of highly qualified executive directors in each state and country, they teach and train new and existing entrepreneurs on a local level to develop their real potential with free and low-cost fees while giving back to charitable organizations worldwide. Join Rami in welcoming him to the show. If you have any questions for our guest today, please leave them in the comments section below. That being said, we hope you enjoy today's episode. Without further ado, are you ready to take it to the top?
A few moments later.
All right, David, welcome to episode 20 of Taking You to the Top. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, you're welcome. My pleasure.
So if you could get us started by introducing yourself, take us back to the beginning, tell us where you're from, how you started your journey, and how that led you to starting your company.
Well, great. Happy to do that, of course. I go back a long way. I've got a few gray hairs, and so I made a few notes because I don't remember everything, but I do remember this. First of all, I was born and educated in England, grew up in abject poverty, and no running water, no heat, no electricity. I think that later on in life held me in really good stead for perseverance and tenacity. And they were smarter than me. And but I did finish.
Sorry, Dave. Yeah, you cut out for a second.
All right. I finished high school with a master's degree in peripheral vision. And then I ran away from home, jumped on a ship in Liverpool, ended up in Montreal, made my way to Vancouver, where I joined the phone company as office boy. By the time I'm 19, I'm a district manager with 8 offices and 86 employees, and I was basically a jerk. I didn't know people skills. All I did was get the job done and work my tail off and got the job done. Met my wife there, and that was 60 years ago. We just celebrated our 60th anniversary.
Congratulations.
And we have 2 grown children. We have one who's a 100% disabled veteran who lives in Hawaii. That's part of the reason why we're here. And then we immigrated to the United States legally. That was a difficult thing because it took us about 2 years. My wife's mother was from the Ukraine, actually Russian. And we finally were able to make it to the United States, where I ended up in corporate life in the cosmetic industry for about 25 years. Fast forward from that, I've now been involved in a number of businesses, owned restaurants, created products, invented things, all kinds of very, very creative, and learned a lot in the process. And all the while, I was always an entrepreneur, and I always wanted to be free. And that's basically my story.
Sure. I mean, we could probably do a podcast episode on every one of those milestones.
Yeah.
But today we're focusing on the International Entrepreneurial Association. So could you tell us more about that, what your goal is with that company?
Yeah, it's a
Organization.
startup. We're basically new. I've been playing with it for the last 2 or 3 years. Ran a few ideas up the pole. I had a test website. Nothing seemed to be working, and then I finally put it together. The website is up. You may have seen it already. And,
I have, yeah.
Should I give it to the folks or no? You can do that later.
I mean, that'll be included in everything. Don't worry.
All right, that's fine. But as you know, I'm highly creative, and I wanted a way to be able to teach people what I had learned without the pitfalls of going through all the machinations and maybe trying to learn something from a professor who had never done what he was taught, what he was teaching. In other words, grassroots, down and dirty, hands-on entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And as a result of that, I put together the International Entrepreneurs Association. It is a membership. It's new. We just finished up the website totally just about a week ago. It's a disruptive marketing model with the goal is to, and we've already got some of it going on, is to have an executive director in each country responsible for the entire operation in that country, a revenue sharing basis with a charitable component to give to a charity of their choice. We'll do a 5% matching charity. The key that was missing for me after looking at it was the a larger revenue stream coming from the import-export or export-import area, tying into that multi-trillion-dollar stream.
Sure.
And so typically, as an example, now someone can call us or get online with us, and then we can then distribute their product, which would create yet another stream for advertising if they wish, and be agents, commissioned agents, direct sales reps, whatever they want. Tied to the revenue streams, we've got a number of things. Of course, it's a disruptive model. No one has ever done what I'm doing, and we've struggled with how to, and we've been working through basically as a startup. It's essentially a self-funding model with revenue stream coming from the licensing fees and from advertising, and of course from the commissions that would come from. Go ahead.
You mentioned earlier that it was membership. Is that one of the streams, or is that licensing?
That's a membership. There's on that score. There's two parts. One is the license fee for the executive director in each country, assuming they're qualified. They have to be qualified. I'm not going to go with them unless they are. And we've got several already in place and several more coming. The other stream is the memberships that will develop. There's 700 million entrepreneurs in the world. Okay. And we only need a small portion of those to make this little rascal run and be profitable and teach and train at the same time. There's a lot of people that are really disadvantaged. They don't have what I had available to me, and I frankly didn't know at that time really how to use all of those sources that were available. And
Sure.
So it's been a struggle with that, but I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm fine with it because I've learned, and now I'm supposed to be smart and able to translate that out and to make it successful. So,
exactly.
Sorry.
So which of the two, let's call them revenue models, is your number one model? Is it the membership or the license fee? Revenue-wise, which one would you say is?
Well, initially, it's a licensing fee situation. The license fees range anywhere from $2,000 to $175,000 based on population density and anticipated revenue from the export operation.
Okay, got it. So when did you actually launch the company?
Actually, about 2 years ago, was just a beta test, very quiet. I did it very quietly. I just wanted to sort of road test it, but there's a lot of interest. And I've had lots of inquiries, and I've been developing those and following through on each one. Got a pretty good LinkedIn presence, and that's a good source for me.
Fantastic. And what's the current company team size?
We have, I've got 7 executive directors and 2 key people. We have 7 key slots that we're going to be filling. I'm filling in, I'm like a whirling dervish here with so much going on. I'm delegating out so that that'll get the job done. So we're looking for 5. That's on the website. We've got 4, well, actually 5 left. We've got our IT person, which was the start, of course. Our HR person, who will be handling, you know, the details and so on of the activity that's going on. And she's already getting busy.
Fantastic. And actually, is the company bootstrapped, or did you raise capital to get it all started?
Bootstrapped, and as I said, it's basically a self-generating revenue from the license fees. That will be sufficient to move it, because it'll be self-developing within each country with the payoff. Now, one thing I wanted to mention to you is that one of the key components is that I have acquired a pretty good knowledge in the nothing down real estate business, which was one of my I've reinvented myself 3 times: corporate life, real estate, and now entrepreneurship. And in the real estate business, I learned, we were on national television and learned to do the nothing down. And at one point, before it collapsed in 2008, we had about 70 odd properties, and I learned how to do that with nothing down. And I'm applying the same principle here to the acquisition of the talent. This is not for the folks that might be interested in looking at it. They can go on the site and see the qualifications for those 5 key positions, and they're going to trade. It's a sweat equity trade. They will trade their time and effort and skill sets in exchange for an equity interest in the corporation. Okay, so it'll be a share, just like Alibaba. Okay. In other words, I call myself the Uber of the export business. I hope so.
Usually what I like to ask when someone mentions that their company is bootstrapped, which, by the way, I love, do you mind sharing with us how much of your own money you put in to launch the company?
About 20,000.
Okay.
Quite small, actually. So,
I mean, relatively, yes. I mean, I've seen anything from 1,000 to 100,000 bootstrapped.
Yeah. Well, one of my entrepreneurial ventures was a big, beautiful gourmet food operation. My wife's a fabulous cook, and we thought we would be good at that, which we were okay with it, but we dropped about 186 grand on that one.
Wow. Okay.
Lesson learned.
So I'm not sure if it's too early. I mean, you said you launched 2 years ago, low-key.
Mm-hmm.
So was there like an official launch after that?
Well, I guess you could call it was a soft launch in the very beginning, and now I think I sent you a copy of my press release. I'm not sure, but we just put that together. That's gone out now. It's going to be going out. They're going to be feeding that out quite a bit to the media.
Sure. So I mean, are you able to tell us what growth looks like from last year versus August last year?
Too early to tell, really, to be meaningful. But by the end of our 5-year plan, of course, we've got that in place. But by the end of next year, we're looking for about 10,000 memberships, and I can't get a handle on the export yet because we haven't had that experience yet. But I know that's a given activity that's taking place, and with the right talent and time, we can certainly get our share of that, which will be the added revenue stream. And because that's a monster, the export segment of industry is huge.
Okay. So 10K memberships, how much is a single entrepreneur pay?
It's
for membership,
$10 a
let's say?
month. It's $10 a month for an individual membership.
Okay. Perfect.
Trying to keep it simple and low, because a lot of countries don't have the economics to support a higher membership fee.
Sure. But still, I mean, $10 is it's a fairly good amount based on the size of the market.
Yes, of course, right. And the executive director is going to share in that revenue, so there's a revenue, a residual income base there for the executive director.
Exactly. Okay. This next section is to help out those who are just getting started, entrepreneurs who maybe haven't even started their journey or are just getting started. So if you were to launch a company today, how would you get your first customers? Would you get them on an email list to get an idea of market size and then maybe, launch later, or do you just launch with an idea? And what marketing channel would you use?
Well, I would use the several actually.
Okay.
I'd certainly use the LinkedIn channel. I'd use social media as well. And given today's environment, everyone is looking, it seems. They're all very unsettled about their cash flow and income and so on, their jobs. And the big percentage of the applications that I'm now receiving are unfortunately from people who all they know is a job, and that's okay. I mean, that's a job is a great place to start, but a lousy place to finish. And you're following somebody else's dream. So my source, plenty of sources. I can see it happening in front of me. It's just sorting out the people that have the dream. And I think the entrepreneurs have a special DNA, frankly. Yourself included, probably. And I can't clinically give you that information, but I can share with you. You've either got it or you don't have it. And maybe it develops, but I don't think the big boys. I don't think Zuckerberg was ever playing with his ability to say, "I'm going to do this." He knew, absolutely.
So LinkedIn and social media would be your go-to.
As much as they used to. And emails to me are, if you look at texting, I can guarantee that's another, I forgot that, by the way. The texting is another medium I would definitely use.
Texting.
Because texting today is where faxes were 25 years ago in terms of response level.
That's interesting. I haven't heard that yet. SMS marketing, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, years ago, if you got a fax, you acted instantly. Today, it's the text. It was an email for the last 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it was. But I've tested that. It's amazing what's going on.
And would you suggest, when you're trying to discover your market, do you usually, market research wise, do you try to build yourself a list first, or do you just know that there's a market?
Well, the entrepreneurs are self-identified. I've done some advertising to try to find those people. They actually find themselves. Entrepreneurs are pretty creative people, and they know where to go. There's a little thing called GOOGLE. So yeah, lots of sources to find people that are interested. I believe that people are fundamentally, they want personal success deep down, but they have to overcome the barriers that have been created over the years and years and years of negativity. And once, especially if you come from a background like I did, which kind of prevented a lot of positivity, and that does some damage to your self-image, which can take years to overcome. Especially if you have family members who are making snarky comments all the time about how dumb you are, or you're doing that again, or taking a shot at you because of their own weaknesses.
Okay, so if you don't mind, we'll wrap up with the famous five.
Sure, sure.
All right. So number one, what's your favorite business book?
Well, Think and Grow Rich.
Okay.
That book contains everything I've ever learned, plus. That's a great book. Great book.
All right. Number two, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
Uh, well, I've got several actually.
I'm sure we have to try and narrow it down. Top one.
Yeah, I like Bezos. It's one of my favorites.
He's great.
Yeah.
Number three, what's your favorite online tool for growing your business?
I would say LinkedIn and Google.
All right. And number four, if you could give your 20-year-old self a piece of advice, what would that be?
Yeah, I wrote that one down because I wanted to give a message here that might be helpful to some people, okay?
Sure.
I think you have to decide what you want to do. There's a lot of young people. I'm talking to the young people now. I mean, if you're 50 or over, we can have a private chat. But for the young people, they have been indoctrinated into academia, and basically, not to get philosophical here, but academia was developed to get a highly educated pool of employees. My advice to a 20-year-old would be to identify your own personal skill sets, so that you feel empowered knowing that what you've got and your talents and skill sets, plus your interest level. You could be a great ballroom dancer, but you may not have very good rhythm. It's you could be physically good, but not have the skill set. So you want to make sure that it's a good fit. Here's the thing: if you are in alignment, if you're congruent and you're in alignment with your core values of your own drive, what makes you tick, then you're going to be a happier person. You'll be more productive, and you'll never. There's an old adage that says if you're happy with what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I subscribe to that. So I think the young people need to take a good close look. I did some extensive work on that years ago. I got caught up in the corporate life, which was fine. It was a fun ride, and did that for 25 years, running all over the Western Hemisphere. But yeah, I would say be sure you understand your own personal skill sets and talents, and that tied to your interest levels. If you have an inner drive that's telling you want to be a writer, well, then just learn what you need to do. Make sure that it is real, because sometimes, when you're a kid, you want to be a fireman or a policeman, or in the army, whatever it is. And some of those are all directed by well-meaning people, but they don't have a clue about your internal skill set to that point, really internal. So as you develop, you want to make sure that's hopefully in alignment with what they really are.
Okay. I'm going to have to try and summarize that one, but I think I've got a handle on it.
Yeah.
Number five, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
5.
5 hours.
I need more. I'm a pretty proactive 82-year-old kick butt senior.
Amazing. All right, David, thank you so much for joining me today. It was great to have you on the show. Hopefully in a year's time, we can catch up. We can see where the company's grown, what countries you've reached out to. That would be really interesting.
Sure. There's a lot on the website in terms of what's available to an executive director, and we welcome all comers. We'll look at anybody that wants to express an interest. So,
Perfect.
Thank you very much. My pleasure to talk with you, and have a wonderful day. You take care.
You too. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Today's episode is sponsored by Audible.com. Audible is a seller and producer of spoken audio entertainment, information, and educational programming on the internet. Audible sells digital audiobooks, radio and TV programs, and audio versions of magazines and newspapers. To start using Audible today, please visit their website at www.audible.com. That's www.audible.com.